Reacting to Week 12 college football playoff rankings. Alright, so Louisville sneaks into the top 25 at number 25. Texas is still in there. UCF falls from being the highest ranked group of 5 after a bad loss to Navy. They fall behind Tulane, the team they beat, who is 9-2. So I kind of understand it based off of the record. Ole Miss still in the top 25 at 20. They dropped UCLA a spot. I can kind of understand it, even though they did look good in the game against the, I guess, 5th ranked team in the nation right now, or 6th. I don't know what they're ranked. They did look good, but 3-loss teams, so they're down there. You're on a 2-game losing streak at that. UNC falls to 17. Obviously, their playoff hopes are ended by the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Utah above Notre Dame, kind of interesting. Utah's been a team that has looked inconsistent. Their offense looked terrible Saturday night, but they're still ranked above the Notre Dame team that has had their struggles earlier in the year, but they're hot right now. They're doing what they need to do to win games, and they're winning games. So they're also above Florida State team that's been really, really good these past few weeks. Washington at 13, interesting. I wonder if that gets re-ranked if Utah somehow makes the conference championship game. I know they can do it if Washington wins, Oregon loses, and UCLA wins. So if those things happen, they make the conference championship game. Does Washington gets moved down after a win just because they're not in a conference championship? That could be interesting. Kansas State at 12 is kind of weird to me. I mean, this is a team that could be, 9-2 right now if their quarterbacks don't get hurt against TCU. But they're going to have a chance at TCU in a few weeks in the Big 12 title game, assuming they take care of business this week against Kansas. Penn State at 11. They have 2 losses in the 2 losses to two teams that are top 3 in the nation. They're a really good team, and they definitely deserve consideration for a New Year's Six bowl game. Now, the top 10 is really what I want to get to because it's very weird the way they've ranked this. AP poll had Clemson jump Alabama last week because we're getting closer and they have 1 loss and Bama has 2. The committee stayed solid and put Bama over Clemson, continuing that trend. Clemson's not making the playoff, I don't think. I don't think that there's any way for them to. They're behind Alabama right now. USC is there. If you're a UFC fan, do not worry about LSU being ahead of you. They're going to get blown out by Georgia, and they're going to fall. You're basically the 5th best team in the nation right now. They're just showing LSU love because they have a win against Alabama. Now, what I don't understand is why is Tennessee at 10? There are 2 teams, an LSU team that they blew out in Baton Rouge that is 5 spots ahead of them. And same record. LSU lost to Tennessee head-to-head, and then they lost to FSU. Tennessee, they have a bad game against South Carolina, and then they lose to the number 1 team in the country. Why is LSU above Tennessee? And the game, it wasn't like it was a close field goal. The Alabama-Tennessee thing, I do think Alabama's a better team than Tennessee, but Tennessee won, so they should be ahead. But I can understand how you make the argument that you want to put Alabama ahead because Tennessee just lost recently. But recency bias is crazy because there's no way you put Tennessee at 10 below 2 teams they beat. I think that USC should be, if I were to rank 5 through 10, I would do out of the teams that are in there. USC 5, Tennessee 6, LSU 7, Bama 8, Clemson 9, Oregon 10. Alabama being at 7 over Tennessee, even though they lost to them, is weird. All these teams have the same record, so why isn't head-to-head factored in? I don't really understand. I mean, obviously LSU has the opportunity to become a playoff team is what they're saying. If LSU wins, they're in. It doesn't matter what happens between Ohio State and Michigan. There's nothing anyone can do to stop LSU from being in the playoffs if they win their next 2 games against Texas A&M and Georgia. Ohio State, Michigan, the way this game goes is going to be really important. If it's a close game, the loser has a shot to get in. Teams that are automatically in, Georgia is in no matter what. Ohio State has a pretty solid shot at getting in regardless of situation, even if they lose in the Big Ten championship, they'll have a win over a top 3 team. Notre Dame is ranked 15 right now. Ohio State has a top 15 win. Michigan, they don't have any win. I mean, obviously you have the Penn State win, which is interesting too because they are ranked 11 right now and could be moving into 10 depending on what happens between Oregon and Oregon State this week, and if Oregon wins between Oregon and USC the following week. There's a chance that both of these teams can have a top 10 win by the selection show. Ohio State has a better chance to get in if they lose. Michigan, they don't have any strength schedule outside of Penn State. TCU, I think it's going to be hard to keep TCU out. The committee doesn't like TCU. I think that's kind of obvious. They are 11-0. It's been a struggle 11-0, but they are 11-0. As long as they don't lose 2, I think they have a pretty solid shot at getting in. Iowa State loss would be bad, but you would still be Big 12 champs, assuming you win that game. And if you lose in the Big 12 championship, are you going to put a 3-loss LSU team in? Probably not. If USC wins their conference, I think they have to be in. Over a one loss Ohio State or Michigan that loses against a 1-loss TCU if they were to lose. But I think USC controls their destiny unless LSU wins. If LSU wins against Georgia, USC wins, it could be very interesting to see what they do with other teams. I think USC's worst nightmare is LSU wins, TCU, Ohio State, and Georgia all win. Or actually Michigan wins, and then you have that argument with USC versus Ohio State, in addition to the fact that you have a 2-loss LSU win there in that conversation. Clemson is out. The UNC loss also hurt them because at 17, is that really going to be that much of a resume booster? They don't have any other top 25 wins right now, if I'm not mistaken. They have a loss to the 15th ranked team. That's my reaction. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah.